Get ready, Padres fans. It's time for the EcoWater SoCal Padres Pregame Show on the Padres Radio Network.
Tatis at third, 2 outs. Fernando takes off. He's going to steal home without a play.
Coming up, we'll have a recap of the previous Padres game, a preview of today's starting pitching matchup, and our keys to the game. Plus, we'll hear from manager Mike Schultz. From the Padres Radio Network, here's Sam Levitt.
Good morning and welcome to into the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on KWFN 97 through the Fan and the Padres Radio Network. I am Braden Soprenet filling in for Sam Levitt, and let's set the table. Brought to you by Fraser Farmers Market. Set your table with the highest quality of natural and organic products from Fraser Farmers Market, a San Diego original since 1971 with 3 locations in La Mesa, Vista, and Oceanside. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. It is game 4 of the 4-game series here at Petco Park between the New York Mets and your San Diego Padres. And it's game 10 for the Padres in playing 18 games in 18 days. Tough stretch from August 16th to September 2nd. And game 19 in a stretch of playing 27 games in 28 days. I mentioned it yesterday as part of the dog days of summer here in Major League Baseball. Where do things stand? Well, the Padres are third in the National League West, trailing the Diamondbacks by 1.5 games, and the division-leading Los Angeles Dodgers by 4.5 games in the National League wild card race. The 3 spots are led by the Diamondbacks, Padres, and Braves. The Mets, who the Padres will play this afternoon, are just behind Atlanta at about a couple of games behind and on the outside looking in. With the Padres' loss on Saturday night, they have either lost or split just 2 of their last 11 series played since the All-Star break. The Padres have gone, by the way, just 1-5 against this New York Mets team this season. San Diego has scored just 3.17 runs per game against the Mets this year, their fewest runs per game against any team this season of playing at least 4 games. San Diego pitchers, by the way, during the series against the Mets, both in New York and here at Petco Park, a 4.94 ERA against Mets batters this year. Hasn't been that great of a matchup for San Diego. But before we talk any more about tonight's game or this afternoon's game here on a Military Sunday, let's take a look back at how Game 3 of the 4-game series transpired last night in San Diego. It's time for our Padres Rewind.
How did the Padres fare in their last game? Let's take a look back with our Padres Rewind. Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino. Fun above all else.
Last night, it was David Peterson for the New York Mets. It was Michael King for the San Diego Padres. We mentioned before on the pregame show, EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show yesterday, one of the keys to the game for the Padres would be scoring first. Unfortunately for San Diego, it was the New York Mets that scored first. Top half of the first inning, Pete Alonso with a very uncharacteristic way to get the scoring started for the New York Mets.
Pete Alonso will stand in, tied for the Met team lead with 13 double play balls. First pitch, broken bat roller towards third, kicks off the bag, rolls out towards foul territory on the left side. Vientos will come in and score, and Alonso ends up at second base. 1-0 Mets on what looked like it was going to be a foul ball. Machado just sort of let it roll, expecting it to kick foul, and it just barely hit the corner of the base and then rolled out to no man's land.
I know the base isn't very, well, it's bigger now than it was in the past, but it's amazing that that doesn't happen more often in Major League Baseball. 1-0 lead for the New York Mets. In terms of the Padres offense, not too much getting going last night. And then in the top half of the 4th inning, Francisco Lindor really gave the Mets a spark. It was our play of the game yesterday, and it was Francisco Lindor's 7th grand slam of his career.
Lindor waiting in that left-handed batter's box. Here's the 2-0 from King. Swung on, hit in the air to deep right field. Johnson is back. He is at the wall, looking up, gonna go. Grand slam, Francisco Lindor. The runs will be unearned, but they will still hurt. And the Mets take a 5-0 lead here in the fourth.
5-0 lead for the Mets as they would add to that lead later on. Padres did get a run back with a Luis Arraez ground out that scored a run with the bases loaded. It made it 5-1 Mets. Top half of the seventh inning, Francisco Lindor's 27th home run of the season gave him his 19th career multi-homer game, and the New York Mets got a 6-1 lead.
1-0 pitch. Lindor hits it hard in the air to left field. Profar back at the wall. Gonna go. First or second row for Lindor. A line drive shot to left. His second homer of the night. And now 6-1 Mets in the top of the seventh.
Mets scored 7 runs on 5 hits, did not commit an error, left 4 on base. Padres only 1 run on 6 hits. They made 2 errors, and they left 7 on base. David Peterson, who's been great for the Mets all year, earned yet another win, his 8th of the season. He is now 8-1 on the year. Michael King took the loss. With that loss, he is now at 11-7. Time of the ball game, 2 hours and 25 minutes. Played in front of 42,284 on a 71-degree clear evening in America's finest city. That was last night's game. Let's get a quick preview of today's matchup as we head to the broadcast booth and talk to the voice of the San Diego Padres and Jesse Agler with today's game preview.
Let's go inside the Padres broadcast booth for a deep dive on today's matchup from Jesse Agler in our Padres game preview on the Padres Radio Network.
Now bring in the voice of the San Diego Padres, Mr. Jesse Agler, here on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. Jesse, we're in game 10 of this long stretch, these 10 games of 18 games in 18 days. I know it's not a lot of off days for the players, not a lot of off days for you and the crew either up there in the broadcast booth.
Yeah, they call them the dog days of August for a reason, and stretches like this are why. And you know what? A couple of ways to look at it. One, I will be honest and tell you, Braden, 18 in a row this time of year hits a lot harder than 18 in a row maybe in April or May. That is the reality of the long season. But the other thing is, I think, it's kind of light at the end of the tunnel time right now for the Padres. After this stretch, really no more tough stretches of schedule, not meaning the baseball games themselves, of course, but just in terms of days off and everything like that. It softens up a lot in September, and then October, obviously. For as long as the Padres go, there will be regularly scheduled off days. So it's tough right now. Certainly it's a gnarly little stretch, but the reality is this will be the last time in 2024 that the Padres, have a stretch that's really anything like this. So, as I said, kind of light at the end of the tunnel. We'll get there. And I hear St. Louis is beautiful this time of year, so we'll look forward to that.
I'm sure the weather report says it's just as nice as America's finest city, and good luck to that. Nobody's ever been highly anticipating a trip to the Trop like maybe the Padres will next weekend. I wanted to ask you a couple of things with just, the pitching staff, more likely with Martin Perez this afternoon. One of those pitchers acquired at the trade deadline, not one of the big names acquired at the trade deadline, but has been a big impact like some of the big names in this pitching staff. One of those players that has really turned things around in terms of the stat sheet, just like the bullpen that are now wearing Padres uniforms, and obviously a lot of that could probably is contributed to what Ruben Niebla has been as an impact for a pitching coach. You spent some time with the ball club for a long time now, Jesse. You've gotten to know Ruben Niebla. How much of that impact does Ruben Niebla have on this pitching staff, and how are the pitchers when it comes to interacting with Ruben? From a personal side, and obviously from a game side as well. He seems like a major asset for this ball club.
From my perspective, he's something of a wizard, honestly. I think he's one of the most valuable members of this organization. And it's not just that somebody like Martin Perez comes over and Ruben says to him, hey, we're going to pull more curveballs, fewer sinkers, whatever. And I'm sure conversations like that take place. But it's not as straightforward as, hey, here's what we think and here's how we're going to do it. Those conversations, from everything I understand, begin with, hey, what do you like to do? What do you want to do? What do you feel most comfortable doing? And now that might sound like common sense to all of us, but you'd be amazed, Braden, at how many teams do not operate that way. that they'll bring a guy in a trade or in free agency, and they will almost dictate in 2024, hey, here's what we want your pitch mix to be. You got to never throw your slider again. We want to see more of this, less of that, so on and so forth. The Padres with Ruben Niebla as the pitching coach and his front office, they don't operate that way. They will have opinions, don't get me wrong. They will have, things that they'll show the guy and say, hey, here's what we're thinking and why we're thinking it. But they will first say, what do you feel best when you're doing? What makes you most comfortable and confident out on the mound? And so it really should be no surprise that guys like Martin Perez have come here and seen their numbers tick up. It should be no surprise that these relievers, all of whom, by the way, were having really good years even before they got here, have continued to have really good years, even if they're doing things a little bit more differently. I not to go over the top here, but I don't think you can overstate how important Ruben is to this franchise and how much great work he has done with a really, really not only talented collection of pitchers, but dedicated collection of pitchers. Tony and I were kind of talking about it a little bit during the game last night. More about the starters was the chat we were having, but they're just all total baseball guys. They're all pitchers. They're all guys who really dive so deep into the art of being a starting pitcher. So you combine guys like that, those personalities, with a pitching coach like this, and again, maybe we shouldn't be surprised that the Padre pitching staff has been as good as it has.
Talking with Jesse Agler, the voice of the San Diego Padres, getting you a preview of this afternoon's game as the Padres will play the Mets for the fourth straight time in this four-game series, and talking about the coaching staff, most notably Ruben Niebla. But, obviously a different staff this year compared to years prior, and there's been a lot of changes. In this day and age of analytics, it seems like the Padres have been able to have a staff that connects with their players from a human element, even more so as an analytical element, a little mix of both. How have you observed that, and how important is it for this Padres team to kind of implement both, as you mentioned, with Ruben Niebla?
Yeah, I think both. It's both. It's always both. It always needs to be both. It's always going to be both. And as I said, some teams maybe lean a little bit more heavily one way or another. But I think even every team at this point, we've moved past this era of the numbers, the raw numbers will dictate everything. And it took some time, I think, for the people who became high up in the front offices around baseball to figure out how to properly and most effectively communicate the data and the information they had to the guys who actually had to go out, and play baseball on a given night. And I think, mostly around the league, teams have figured that out. The Padres certainly have. The funny thing about this conversation, right, is that the information is new maybe in how it is collected and the way it is disseminated, but it's already telling you things that everybody knew. Tony Gwynn and Barry Bonds and Ted Williams would all, if they were given this information, be like, yeah, I know. That would be their response. They'd be like, yeah, obviously, that's how you want to try and hit the ball. This isn't new information, but, the amount of data that we have is certainly useful. But I do think it took a lot of people in the industry a little bit of time to figure out how to best, kind of get that across to everybody down on the field. I think the Padres have certainly gone beyond that, and that's not an issue of any, kind here. And it hasn't been, for some years. I really do think all around baseball, people have figured it out. The players have dove, particularly the pitchers, fully into the analytic revolution, which is over. The war is over. Make no mistake about that in baseball. And it will continue to evolve. It will continue to be a little bit different at times, as things go on. But I just, there's no argument, there's no conversation about, data versus gut. That was the thing we heard 15 years ago. That, to be clear, that's just not a thing, These conversations take place. Everybody's got a general sense of how the game works, what the numbers mean, and they're able to use that information, to try and win as many baseball games as possible. Now you can make different decisions, right, about how you build your roster, how you build your pitching staff. It looks to me maybe like the Twins in terms of pitching. We just saw them this week. They have zagged a little bit when everybody is zigging in terms of the kinds of pitchers they want. I would argue the Padres maybe are zagging a little bit when it comes to some of the hitters that they've put together. Luis Arraez, kind of an extreme example, but you throw in a Donovan Solano. You look at the approach of Jackson Merrill. I know there's power in there, but his approach is very similar to those guys, Profar, certainly same kind of situation. So, you can make choices. Very long answer. You can make choices based on who you want to go out and get, but I think everybody, understands how important the information and the data is.
And the team that the Padres have put together have had a great second half and trying to continue that again today against the New York Mets. Jesse, appreciate your time as always. Have a good call today with Tony Gwynn Jr. Look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks, Braden.
Jesse Agler, the voice of the San Diego Padres, joining us for our game preview on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. When we come back on this Military Sunday, we will hear from Mike Schilt from last night, see if there was anything that he talked about last night that can help preview today's game. We'll also go into a who's hot and who's not. Last 28 days for the Mets and the Padres, one player trending in the right direction, one player trending in the wrong direction. Plus, we got some news around Major League Baseball, around the horn. Shohei Ohtani is throwing off the mound for the first time. Got some injury news that will impact the Cardinals this week against the San Diego Padres. And Babe Ruth has a piece of merchandise sell for $24 million. I'll tell you all about that when we come back as we get you a preview for the final game of the Mets and the Padres here in the regular season of 2024 on our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. I'm Braden Suprenant, filling in for Sam Levitt on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to a beautiful Sunday afternoon in San Diego, California. I'm Braden Suprenant filling in for Sam Levitt here on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show at the Loft up here at the Western Metal Supply Company building. It's Game 4, Padres and Mets, getting underway at about 1:10 p.m. Pacific time. It will be Martin Perez for the San Diego Padres going against Jose Quintana of the New York Mets. We'll have a full pitching preview later on in the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, but still got a lot to get to before we get to that point and first pitch right here on 97.3 The Fan. It's Military Sunday here today with the Padres, and we want to give a special salute to all of our active duty service members, veterans, and their families. San Diego County Toyota dealers are proud partners of the Padres and honored to support San Diego's military community. Mike Schilt does not meet with the media on Sundays, but he did meet with the media last night. Let's head on down to the clubhouse and hear what Mike Schilt had to say after last night's loss against the New York Mets.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Schilt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
For Michael, just kind of a tough luck night tonight.
Definitely a tough luck night. I mean, I thought Michael threw the ball well, better as he went. Shaved an inning off of him just later, but borderline pitch to Nemo, didn't go our way. Got in there with Alonso, hits the bag. It's just one of those things. But I thought Michael threw the ball very well. Just wasn't his night.
On Peterson's side, it looked like he was spotting the ball pretty well and had multiple weapons to be able to go to keep
Yeah, multiple weapons he pitched, add, subtract, in, out. Do a nice ball game. We were on some barrels that found some gloves and just missed some barrels that could have changed the trajectory of the game. But give him credit, he threw the ball well.
Another one of those unfortunate things is something that you almost never see, which is a ball that pretty much everyone thought Manny would catch. Would you get any sense on what happened there?
Human. He was a human for a moment. Yeah, man. I mean, the guy's one of the best third basemen ever played the game. Sometimes you got to prove you're human. We'll take 27 balls in a row, hit to Manny Machado.
You talked about this concept a little before the game in light of what Michael did to battle through the last game with the quality start. What has he shown you in that, like you said, seemed that he pitched well tonight? His mentality, what has gotten him to this point here in his first year as a starter?
Yeah, mentality, I think it definitely starts there, Ace. This guy's a really, really good competitor. He's one of the quieter competitors, but he's a consistent competitor too. He's got the mentality. He likes to pitch. He likes to pitch in bigger moments, and he's getting after it, man. He's also got weapons. I mean, he's got really plus weapons. The sinker's like a turbo sinker, and the changeup's really good. The sweeper's filthy. He's got 3+ pitches. This guy's pitched really well. Threw the ball really well tonight. Like Scan was saying, just wanting, circumstances kind of got him. Like I said, borderline pitch and the ball that Alonso hits. So, but I thought he threw the ball well. He's been big for us, and he's only going to continue to be big for us. He's going to win some big games for us down the stretch.
That was manager Mike Schilt after the conclusion of yesterday's loss. Not too much to talk about in terms of today's game. We do have some updates, though, on the Padres that we'll talk about in the injury report, most notably Yu Darvish, who actually did throw to some hitters today. We'll have that later on in the next segment. But before we dive any further, let's talk about who's hot and who's not.
Which player is locked in at the dish? Who needs to kick things up another notch? This is Who's Hot, Who's Not on the Padres Radio Network.
Focusing in on today's Who's Hot and Who's Not, we're going to talk about the last 28 days for both the New York Mets and the San Diego Padres. Who's hot for the Padres in the last 28 days? That'd be Jackson Merrill. He's played in 23 games in the last 28 days. And in those games, he's 26 for 86. That's a .302 average with a .977 OPS and a .290 batting average on balls in play. He has had 6 doubles during that stretch, 3 triples, 6 home runs, 19 RBIs, and has a 138 TOPS plus. Now, what that means is that's a 138 OPS plus compared to his regular season OPS plus. So based on how he's been playing this year, his average would be 100, so he's 38 percentage points better. He's 38% better in these last 28 games than he has been all season. And Jackson Merrill has had a National League Rookie of the Year caliber season. That's just how hot Jackson Merrill's been in the last 28 days. As for the New York Mets, they've had a couple of players not doing so well during these last 28 days. One of them was Brandon Nimmo, who we talked about yesterday. The other is J.D. Martinez. J.D. Martinez last night was 0 for 4 with 3 punch-outs, all against Michael King. Michael King has now struck out J.D. Martinez 6 times in his career. He's kind of had his number. But J.D. has not been playing very well in the last 28 days for the Mets. And the same amount of games played as Jackson Merrill in the last 28 days. J.D. Martinez is 15 for 76. That's a 197 average with a 685 OPS and hitting 240 with 240 batting average with balls in play. 5 doubles, 3 home runs, 24 strikeouts. But again, as I mentioned, 0 for 4 last night with 3 punch-outs. Last 28 days, who's been hot? Jackson Merrill of the San Diego Padres. Who is not? J.D. Martinez of the New York Mets. I'm Braden Suprenant filling in for Sam Levitt today on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. Game 4 of a 4-game series between the Mets and the Padres. Padres trying to get a split with the New York Mets here at home after getting swept in Flushing Meadows earlier this season. We'll talk more about this afternoon's game, but let's take a look at what's trending in baseball with Around the Horn.
What's the latest information you need to know in the world of Major League Baseball? Sam Levitt takes you Around the Horn on the Padres Radio Network.
Let's start with some news up in Los Angeles. Shohei Ohtani threw off a mound Saturday for the first time since having elbow surgery last year. That has kept the Los Angeles Dodgers superstar from pitching this season. Ohtani has been rehabbing his pitching arm while making history with his bat. He reached 40 home runs with a 2-out grand slam in the 9th inning and 40 stolen bases with the swipe in the 4th inning Friday night against the Tampa Bay Rays. Japanese sensation is the fastest player in Major League history to join the 40-40 club as its 6th member. He did so in his 126th game of the season. Shohei Ohtani starting to throw on a mound, trying to get ready to pitch in 2025. Other injury news for you. This impacts the Padres in the next couple of days because they will be taking on the St. Louis Cardinals in St. Louis after today for the next 4 days. St. Louis Cardinals catcher Wilson Contreras is headed to the injured list for the 2nd time this season after he broke a finger when he was hit by a pitch in Saturday's 6-0 loss to the Minnesota Twins. Contreras was leading off the 4th inning when Twins pitcher Pablo Lopez came up and in. Contreras couldn't get out of the way as the ball struck his right hand. He was serving as the Cardinals' designated hitter, so he stayed in the game to run the bases and see if the pain and swelling would go down, but he was then replaced by pinch hitter Matt Carpenter in the 6th inning. We took a blow today, Cardinals manager Oliver Marmol said. It's been a tough year. He's been beat up quite a bit. He's fought through a lot of it. He's played with some pain. Marmol said Ivan Herrera would be recalled from AAA Memphis to share catching duties with Pedro Pates while Contreras recuperates. So no William Contreras this week for the St. Louis Cardinals against the San Diego Padres. Had some history in the auctioning, or should I say memorabilia sales department, and perhaps the most anticipated sports memorabilia auction ever. The jersey worn by baseball legend Babe Ruth when he called his shot in Game 3 of the 1932 World Series has sold for $24.12 million, with Heritage Auction setting an auction record for the most expensive sports collectible. The sale of the New York Yankees Road Ruth jersey, which includes the standard 20% buyer's premium, was available to the public for the first time in 19 years. The previous record price for any sports collectible sold at auction was for a rare mint condition Topps 1952 Mickey Mantle card, which sold for $12.6 million in 2022. The Ruth jersey also far eclipsed the $10 million that was spent on a Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls jersey from Game 1 of the 98 NBA Finals that fetched at auction that same year. Lots of money being spent on sports memorabilia, and that's a look at what's trending in baseball with Around the Horn. Halfway through the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show, I'm Braden Soprenet filling in for Sam Levitt. When we come back, we'll get you a look at the injury report, plus some roster moves for the San Diego Padres that were made earlier today. We will also get you a look at the out-of-town scoreboard and get you a couple of keys for how the Padres can split the series against the New York Mets this afternoon at Petco Park here on Military Sunday. I'm Braden Soprenet filling in for Sam Levitt on the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show right here on 97.3 The Fan, San Diego's #1 sports station, and on the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. I'm Braden Soprenet filling in for Sam Levitt today as the Padres look to play the Mets for the final time of the regular season here in 2024. It's EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on 97.3 The Fan. Your water perfected. You know what's perfection? Well, getting some guys back off the injured list. Got some updates on Yu Darvish and more coming up.
Who's in? Who's out? This is the Bada Fulkerson Injury Report, presented by San Diego's Bulldog Injury Attorneys, who hope you're never in an accident. But if you are, make Bada Fulkerson the first call you make. Hit them up 24/7 at badafulkerson.com.
Let's first talk about the roster moves that the Padres had made today. They recalled Lake Bacher from AAA El Paso. In the move, they also optioned Logan Gillespie back to El Paso, and then additionally, Matthew Batten cleared waivers and has been outrighted to AAA El Paso. So Lake Bacher is up, Logan Gillespie is down, and Matthew Batten clearing waivers is back in El Paso. We got some news on Yu Darvish. He was out here earlier this morning, and he was able to throw against hitters, brought to you by the Lake Elsinore Storm. Storm players came up to face Yu Darvish. Got to watch some of that before the game, but A.J. Casselville reporting 3 simulated innings from Yu Darvish against hitters brought in from the Lake Elsinore Storm. He threw 54 pitches, got 13 outs, didn't see anything that would have qualified as a hit. Unclear what the next step might be for Yu Darvish. The latest update that we got from the Padres was yesterday when Darvish was reinstated from the restricted list on Friday after a month and a half away from the team. In doing so, the club also returned him to the injured list where he spent parts of June and July before landing on the restricted list. At the time, Darvish was rehabbing a groin strain. After a rehab start, he dealt with a bout of elbow inflammation. Darvish says those injuries have subsided and his placement on the injured list is strictly a matter of ramping up after he threw a bullpen session on August 23rd. Darvish's next step will be a series of up and downs to live hitters. Today, that's exactly what he did, and it looked pretty good doing it, so hopefully Yu Darvish is back sooner rather than later. Have some updates on Wandy Peralta and Ha-Seong Kim. Peralta pitched a simulated inning at Petco Park a couple of days ago on August 20th and followed that with a rehab appearance with Single A Lake Elsinore on August 23rd. In that appearance, he threw 14 pitches in one perfect inning with one strikeout. It's unclear how lengthy his rehab stint will be. The veteran sustained the injury while delivering a pitch on July 9th. Peralta posted a 4.50 ERA across 41 innings in the first half. The latest we have on Ha-Seong Kim. He sustained an injury diving back into first base during the Padres game in Colorado back on August 18th. After an MRI revealed inflammation in that shoulder, he landed on the injured list 2 days later. Padres are optimistic that Kim's IL stint won't last too long beyond the minimum 10 days. He has been taking ground balls, but has yet to resume throwing or hitting. That's the latest on our injury report. Let's take a look at some scores around Major League Baseball with our out-of-town scoreboard.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
A lot of games already in action throughout Major League Baseball. We've had one game go final as the Nationals beat the Atlanta Braves 5-1 down in Atlanta. It's some good news for the Padres as the Braves are one spot behind them in the wild card standings. With the loss, the Braves are now 10 games above 500 at 70-60. Nationals improved to 59 and 72. Games currently going on throughout Major League Baseball. One that impacts the Padres as the team in front of them, Arizona Diamondbacks, lead the Red Sox 6-4 in the bottom of the 8th inning. Marlins over the Cubs right now 3-1, also in the bottom of the 8th. Blue Jays have a 6-1 lead on the Angels top half of the 8th inning. In Cleveland, the Guardians have a 3-2 lead on the Rangers in the top of the 8th. Reds lead the Pirates 3-2 in the bottom of the 7th. Yankees have a 4-3 lead over the Rockies, middle of 7. Cardinals and Twins are tied at 1 as they go to the bottom half of the 7th inning. In the bottom half of the 6th inning, it's the Phillies 6 and the Royals 2. Tigers have a 5-3 lead on the White Sox top half of the 6th. And the afternoon games today, Brewers at the A's, Mets at the Padres, and the Giants are at the Mariners. Rays and Dodgers will be the Sunday night game this evening at 4:10 from Chavez Ravine. And later on, it will be the Astros and the Orioles in Baltimore. That game will be underway at 4:10 p.m. Pacific time. That's a look at the out-of-town scoreboard. What's going to be the keys for the victory tonight for the Padres? Let's take a look.
How will the Padres unlock a victory in today's game? These are the keys to the game. Presented by Honor Buick GMC Hummer in National City.
I got two keys for you. One, score first. San Diego has an .831 winning percentage when plating the game's first runs. They're 54-11. Best record in Major League Baseball. When they don't score the first run, however, they are now 19-47 after losing yesterday's game. The other one, early and often. This season, Perez owns a 2.70 ERA with no home runs allowed in the first inning and a 1.35 ERA with one home run allowed in second innings. First time through lineups, he's limited the opposition to a 232 clip. Opponents are batting 293 the second time through and 378 the third time through. So let's get through the order twice and get to the bullpen and that should solidify a victory for the Padres. A couple other things that I'm going to be watching for. We'll talk about that when we come back, plus a preview of Jose Quintana and Martin Perez. EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show rolls on. San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan, and the Padres Radio Network. Welcome back to the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network. I'm Braden Suprenant filling in for Sam Levitt. Lots to watch for in this afternoon's game. Let's dive deeper into what to watch for.
What's the one thing Sam Levitt will be keeping his eye on in today's game? This is What to Watch For. Presented by Genesis Home Improvements, San Diego's trusted painting, roofing, and window company. Save 15% today on a new beginning for your home. Visit GenesisHomeImprovementsSD.com.
I'm looking for two things today. I'm watching for two things. One of them being Machado closing in on the Padres home run record. Now, he's not going to be able to do that today, but each home run that he keeps knocking up, he's getting closer and closer. Manny Machado's hit 333 career home runs since debuting in 2012, and he's hit 158 as a Padre since 2019. His 158 homers are third most in Padres uniform in San Diego history, behind just Adrian Gonzalez's 161 and Nate Colbert's 163. Manny Machado did say he would like to be able to break that record here at Petco Park, so hopefully he hits some home runs to get close on the next road trip, but then saves that last one for here at Petco. Looking for his 7th consecutive team win in games he starts. Pirates won both of his final 2 starts with the club, Martin Perez, before being acquired by San Diego, and San Diego has won each of his first 4. Last time his team earned a win in 7 straight starts of his was August 9th through September 8th in 2017 with the Texas Rangers. If the Padres win his start today, he'll be 1 start shy of tying his record of 8 straight team wins in his season starts from May 26th to July 1st, 2016, again with the Texas Rangers. For comparison's sake, the last time San Diego has had a starting pitcher earn a win in 7+ starts was Joe Musgrove's 8th to start the 2022 campaign. A lot on the line for Martin Perez today, most notably trying to get a split. He's going against Jose Quintana. That's today's pitching matchup.
Let's take a look at who's on the bump today with our starting pitching preview. Presented by Chimney Sweeps, Inc., San Diego's trusted chimney and fireplace service company for 40 years. Call Chimney Sweeps, Inc. at 1-800-CHIMNEY or book an inspection online at chimneysweepsinc.com.
Making his 26th start of the 2024 season, his 328th start of his Major League Baseball career, 35-year-old veteran left-hander Jose Quintana. 6-9 with a 4.57 ERA, 106 strikeouts over 134 innings pitched this season. In his career, he's 98-102 with a 3.80 ERA. Last outing for Quintana, August 20th against the Orioles, 9-5 loss in which Quintana went 5 innings, allowing 7 runs, all earned while walking 2 and only striking out 3. Unlike last night's starter and David Peterson, who has been red hot since the month of August began, Jose Quintana has been rough in his last 7 starts. He's 2-4 with a 6.27 ERA, 19 walks, 35 punch-outs, 9 home runs allowed over 37 1/3 innings pitched. Quintana did face the Padres earlier this year, had one of his better starts of the season, went 6 innings, allowing just 1 earned run on 2 hits with 6 punch-outs and a lone home run hit by Jackson Merrill. Against Padres all-time, Quintana's 3-0 with a 5.00 ERA. Making his 21st start of the 2024 season, 6-foot, 200-pound right-hander from Venezuela in Martin Perez. He's 3-5 this year with a 4.67 ERA, 86 strikeouts over 106 innings of work, 88-86 record in his career with a 4.45 ERA, over 1,088 strikeouts in 1,546 2/3 innings and 308 appearances. Last time out for Perez, August 20th against the Twins in a 7-5 victory. He went 4 2/3, allowing 3 earned runs on 7 hits with 1 walk and 2 strikeouts. That is the pitching matchup. That is your EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show. I'm Braden Soprenet filling in for Sam Levitt. I'll be filling in on the postgame show as well. For Frank Marchese, I'm Braden Soprenet signing off as we head over to the broadcast booth after a quick break to get you ready for Padres baseball. Jesse Agler, Tony Gwynn Jr. will have the call. I'll be back for postgame. Padres try to get a split with the Mets on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan and the Padres Radio Network.